Okay, me and my partner have just recently moved into a new property, and I thought it would be the ideal time to upgrade my fish tank. I previously had the dual Rio 180, which I'd had for over 20 years, and I'd gone through various stages from cold water to marine to high-tech planted. But just felt, it was time to get something a little bit more modern. Now, as I say, we have just moved, so if you catch sight of any nasty carpets, then that's because they're going to be one of the last things that get changed after we've done some of the building work, and that needs doing here. Now, because this is a new tank, I thought it would be an ideal time to get some new equipment. So I'll run through a little overview of what I've got, and then we'll have some separate videos on some of the individual equipment later. Now, as I've said, it is a high-tech tank, so we are running CO2. The CO2 bottle eventually will move either into the loft or into the bedroom that's behind it and be hidden away. The tank itself is a clear seal marine tank, so in the cabinet underneath is a sump, which I'll show you shortly in some of the equipment that we're running. Now, I do have to disclose that I do work in the trade, so I get access to some products that you may not have seen before, and I do get to visit the likes of TMC and some of the other suppliers, and I may be given products to try or be given them at trade price. So just so that you're aware, that's why you may see lots of certain types of equipment on here. The tank's only been set up for a couple of weeks, so that's why not got the balances totally right yet, which is why in some places there may just be slight amounts of algae. But the plants have started growing. The chainsaw is sending out its runners. Not sure I'm going to keep this permanently, but I just wanted some stuff in here to get the tank going and mature. Again, I work in the trade, so I can order any plant that I want. I'm not totally decided what I want to do ultimately yet. Probably get hemianthus to carpet. Now, I have kept tanks for many years, and I do, as I say, work in the trade, so I've got another tank that I'll show you a picture of in a second that I have been running in a very similar way for a long time. Got perfect hemianthus carpeting, so whilst you may not agree with some of what I've done here, and certainly my plant choices at the moment, they were just something that's available to me, and this is more of a project tank, so I'm going to try different things on it. I'm going to experiment, I'm going to find what works, what doesn't. So you may agree with some of it, you may not, and I welcome your opinions. If you see something or can recommend something that's better, then please leave a message below. Okay, so to start with, just running a 5 kg fire extinguisher. I get these provided free of charge to me because I've got a friend that works in the fire extinguisher business, so before these go off to be pressure tested, he allows me to run the gas through my tank. Running a TMC regulator and solenoid. Just fitted a cheap and cheerful bubble counter on there that I got from eBay. Some green CO2 hosing with the TMC check valve. Over the top we've got TMC Aqua Ray lighting units. They're not running at full power at the moment. I do have a controller on them that you'll see in a minute. In the tank, the green hose is coming in, and that's just going down to a glass diffuser at the moment. It's only placed temporarily because I want to get away from that and use a reactor, which I'll show you in a second. The pipework that I've used on the tank is homemade because I wanted something different than what they use on marine. So on this side we've just got a homemade uplift tube. So there's a strainer down the bottom, but on the surface in here, large overflow hole, and on the side I've cut some slots in there, not sure whether you can see them, but they act as the surface skimmer, and it is working perfectly, it's keeping the surface nice and clean. If they get blocked, then I do start to see scum on the water surface, I know it works. And this is just a nozzle that I found, a return nozzle. Works perfectly well for what I want. I may change it in the future. One other thing that I've got in the tank, and really nice quality, is just a Tmc circulation pump, just like a wave maker that they use. Wave maker pump that they use in a lot of marine tanks. That just helps with the circulation. Again, this is one that I've had for 4 or 5 years. I swear by the Tmc products, they do work really, really well. Never had a fault with it. Just need to strip it every couple of months just to clean the impeller, but then you should do that on any form of pump that you've got. This is a Tmc Drop Checker. I've just done a water change, so it's just starting to turn blue a little bit, but it will go back because I've got a pH controller. And this is just a cheap and cheerful drop checker that I got on eBay. I do run 2 just to keep an eye on it. At the moment I will probably end up removing 1. Okay, so here's a quick glance inside the cabinet. The front door completely lifts off on these cabinets, which I quite like because it allows you to get right the way in around the sump. I just used some wooden panelling over the top of the sump, just allows me to have a shelf to put all of my clutter. I don't have to open the cabinet too often, so I wasn't too worried about doors. Whilst I've got dosers and stuff here, I don't need, or should I say foods and nutrients in here, I don't need to go in here too often. I'll explain why in a second. So to start off with, we've got the sump. Okay, in the sump is a Tmc filter sock. Okay, that's a 100 micron filter sock, so it just takes out the lumps and sediment that passes through. So it just helps to keep the sump a little bit cleaner. Dual digital thermometer, running a little bit warmer than I would like at the moment, but that's because the bungalow's quite hot. Okay, and just got bio balls, and some sponges inside the sump itself. The return pump, don't know if you can see it too well down there, is a Tmc Synchro. Again, as I said before, I think the Tmc products are great. They work really, really well. I've never had one fail on me. They've got a nice long warranty on them. This end chamber here, marine users will probably be slightly more familiar with this. This is just an auto top-up chamber. So there's a small little pump in there that when the water level in the sump lowers, this pump just pumps water back up into the main sump, just so that the water level doesn't lower, and then you just top up the auto top-up chamber. And there's the controller for the auto top-up. It is an Aquarium one, so it's at the budget end of the market, only costs about £50 retail. Over here, let's see if we can get some light. That's the Tmc Aqua Ray controller for the light tiles. It allows you to fade the lights in and out, set them quite accurately. You do have 2 channels that you can independently control there. Has thunder and lightning settings on it, so it's quite nice. Back here is the Tmc pH controller for the CO2, so that turns on and off the CO2 as required. The reason it's got 2 readouts on it is it's a monitor as well, so it's got two pH probes just down there, the yellow things that you can see. They are reading slightly differently at the moment because I've just done a water change, but I don't replace both probes at the same time, so you can find a slight lag in the response time, particularly on the monitor side, which is the one that I change less often. Now I've just done a water change, so the reading's a little bit higher than normal because the gas, if you can see, the drop checker is still pumping. So that'll normally sit about 6.9, but it'll drop. This here is an automatic dosing pump. It's a two-head, so it can dose two independent liquids. It's made by Tmc. It's worked flawlessly since I put it in. At the moment, it's only pumping one chemical from this bottle. Okay, the chemical that I'm using is made by Promin. It's the Pro Complete, so it's a complete plant food that has the nitrates and the phosphates in. I've got it set so it's pumping 2 mil an hour from the hours of about 10 o'clock in the morning through to about 9 o'clock at night, and it works flawlessly. This is one of the newer versions that you can calibrate, so we know that the dosing is absolutely correct, and I've been keeping an eye on the bottle just to make sure that the level is dropping as I would expect it to, and it is. It's been on there for a week and it's worked perfectly fine. What I am going to do, the reason I got a two-head version, is I am going to dose macro and micro independently to each other, so I'll have two bottles rather than using a mix like this. I'm going to pre-mix my own chemicals, probably. I'll probably use this, which is the Promin Pro Plant, which is just a general plant food. So I'll dose that through, and then I'll do the nitrate and phosphate separately. Just allows me to have more control over how much nitrates and phosphates go in, and based on what I need. So that's Promin Pro Plant. That's Promin Pro Complete. So Pro Plant and Pro Complete, the same thing, apart from Pro Complete has the nitrates and phosphates added in. This here, it doesn't have a label on it because I was provided it free of charge as a sample. That is the Promin Pro Carbon, which is basically the same as TNC Carbon or Flourish XL, same chemicals. Again, I don't dose it directly to the tank that often, but I do use it for spot treating algae, and it works perfectly well. Promin catfish food, the catfish love it. I do use other Promin products. Another one that I really like is this one, which is the Magic Aquarium cleaning pad. Okay, I've got a small pile of them here. Very sponge-like, but it's slightly more abrasive. Absolutely brilliant for cleaning algae off the glass. It doesn't scratch. You can cut it into smaller bits for spot treating if you wish. Absolutely brilliant. Pure Aquarium, use it occasionally, only because I've got it. Down there is the heater, which I'll get out and probably do a separate review on later, but that again is a Situ Scuba. It's a 300 watt heater because I've got 260 litres in total of water. Again, works flawlessly, swear by Situ. And lots of plugs and stuff in there. So some of this I'll independently review, and again, as I said, I want to change the CO2 diffuser, and I'll show you what I tried. This is an ISTA Max Mix CO2 reactor, and you know, it works relatively well, but the issue that I've got is I've got quite large hosing, so I needed to use their spacer that's on here to attach the hosing, which creates a problem in itself because it's then only push fit over here, and it leaked like crazy. Yes, I could seal it with silicone, but then it makes it more difficult to clean these at a later date. But also, it reduces the throughput quite a lot because you're reducing down the size of the hose, so the return into the tank through there had reduced quite significantly. I also, because of I got the shorter version, when I turned up the CO2 enough to actually work on the pH controller properly, I found that I was getting a lot of micro misting in the tank itself, so I removed it and went back to the diffuser. But I have looked and done a little bit of research and found instructions for a DIY, what they call probably a Serges or a Sergey's reactor. I've ordered the parts to build one of my own, so it'll be similar to this but much larger. It's supposed to dissolve 100% of CO2 into the tank without any misting. We'll see. If you've got any suggestions or questions, do please post below.